Welcome to Rotten Damians. Today we are discussing Shark Night 3D. So what this movie got right is awesome character development, which makes you feel for the victims and actually be sad when they die. Let me give you a rundown. Nick, the protagonist, is studying medicine, and although he seems nerdy, he has some undercover heroic traits. He also has a crush on Sara. Sara is from the small town we will be visiting this weekend, and her friends think she's weird because she never pursues anyone romantically and spends all her time with her dog, Sherman.
Room for one more?
Yeah, totally.
Good boy.
Oh.
Gordon is Nick's best friend. He's a gamer and has a dark sense of humor.
Yeah, but if you're gonna be a doctor, you should probably see a woman naked.
Seen plenty of women naked.
Cadavers don't count.
I love it. This big fella is Malik. He's an NFL draft pick and hoping to propose to his girlfriend Maya. He's failing his classes, so he hired Nick to tutor him. They got a B+ together, and for that reason, Malik is going to...
Hey, you back?
We are going up to Lake Crosby to celebrate.
That Thad Castleberry looking motherfucker is Blake, and his character doesn't do much. I just didn't want to see him twerking alone.
I had the pleasure of sketching your genitals every Tuesday and Thursday.
Nice. You're welcome.
The group hop in the van, and thanks to the hyperlapse, their traveling is only a 2-minute montage. Airports need to look into this.
Come on, you talking to Superman, girl?
Malik says his final words, and they hit the water for some wakeboarding. But not before long, we see the fin and take the POV of a shark. The shark knocks him off the board, and the others circle back looking for him. He swims back to the bank of the lake, asking Sara for a hand. Whoops, pun intended. I really enjoyed the scene where Sara looks at Malik. Take note of the focus on her and the movement in the background. I think it accurately captures the shock you would feel. It reminds me of the scene in Jaws when the sheriff realizes going down. This is when nerdy Nick removes the glasses and becomes a man. He goes into full doctor mode and makes a tourniquet to stop the bleeding, after which he decides he deserves a victory swim. He finds Malik's arm despite them being some distance from the lake bank, but then the shark sees dessert and starts chasing him. But don't worry, he makes it in the nick of time. The shark looks pretty fake in this movie, but remember, they couldn't use an animatronic one because the movie is in 3D. Malik, Beth, Sara and Nick start making their way to the mainland to save Malik and reattach his arm, but unfortunately, Malik is leaving a breadcrumb trail in the form of blood for the shark. The shark knocks the boat, sending Beth into the water. They throw her a life buoy and start speeding up, forcing the shark to play a game of cat and mouse, or Beth and shark. Unfortunately, they can't outride the shark that Nick literally just outswam, and it eats Beth. The shark then proceeds to knock the boat, damaging the steering and braking system. The gang abandon the boat while it explodes into the docks in 3D glory. Nightfall comes and Blake hears a boat, so he tenses those glutes and fires a shotgun. The boat comes to their aid, and it's actually the two rednecks we met earlier.
I could give you English lessons in the back of my truck if you like.
They are racist, sexist, and Sarah's old friends.
I'm sorry, they're harmless. They're just locals.
Back to the present, Nick fills the rednecks in. They then completely turn their act around and start playing the good guy, wanting to help. They come up with a plan to go back to mainland and radio for a medic so Malik can be airlifted to a hospital. Beth decides to go with them, and Gordon, our gamer, tags along to make sure the rednecks don't try anything. But before they leave, Red gives us a little show and tell. He reassures the group not to worry about the sharks because they have this device that sends sound waves to deter them. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but Red's teeth are shaved to look like a shark's teeth. Something fishy is going on here.
I'm sorry, they're harmless. They're just locals.
Yeah, Sara, I don't think so. The totally harmless locals stop the boat after some time, remove the shark repellent device, and politely ask Gordon
Once you get in the water.
but he declines because...
There's a shark.
Okay, I'm going to let you guys know a little secret now. Dennis, Red, and the sheriff, who we also met earlier,
There you go. Nice. Nice. Sheriff still got it.
are all working together to provide a streaming service where sharks attack humans and you pay to watch. They gather the sharks from the ocean and bring them to the lake where the cameras attached to the sharks record the footage and send it back to them. Anyway, Dennis thinks Gordon is taking too long, so shoots him in the shoulder, which is a pretty effective bad guy move because not only will he bleed, but now he can't use that arm. Gordon makes a swim for it and manages to get to a tree in the middle of the lake, but he can't hoist himself up because of his shoulder. The shark then jumps up and eats him. His mother will probably still find a way to blame video games on his death. Next, they make Beth strip and get into the cage filled with cookie cutter sharks, or
Hayes Dies Resiliensis.
it's an incredibly painful scene to watch, and I can imagine it's a slow and agonizing death. This scene is also one of the reasons I love this movie, because we aren't limited to one type of shark. Instead, we get a plethora of the species, such as bull sharks, cookie cutters, and later even more. So that's the end of Beth and Gordon. Back home, Malik has just found out his soon-to-be wife Maya has been killed. So he gathers a spear and decides he's going to kill the shark.
She was the only part of me that I couldn't lose.
That's sad. The shark appears after a while, smelling Malik's arm blood, but he's ready and engages in a fist fight before spearing it in the head a couple of times. They pull it onto shore, but unfortunately, all of Malik's efforts are wasted because
The shark I saw wasn't a hammerhead.
Blake then decides that Malik isn't strong enough to continue waiting for help. I mean, it's not like he just killed a shark or anything. So he grabs the jet ski, ties Malik to him, and they go on their way to the mainland. Malik, still on his Euro complex bullshit, sees the shark fin behind them, so he unties himself, acting as a decoy so Blake can get away. But Malik fails to understand that his friends love him and would never leave him behind. Blake turns around, trying to help his friend, and once he realizes Malik is gone, he fires up the jet ski, trying to outride the shark without a head start. Unfortunately, the jet ski isn't as fast as Nick, and the shark swims ahead of Blake and jumps up and eats him in midair. I can imagine this movie would be pretty good in 3D. The sheriff brings over some noodle soup, which Nick and Sherman happily eat before they pass out. The sheriff puts something in the food to make them pass out. Sara realizes what's happening and tries to stab the sheriff, but Dennis the Menace arrives in time to stop her and shoot her with a tranquilizing dart. Nick wakes up tied to a chair with a tiger shark below him. See, he gets so many different types of sharks in this movie. It's awesome. The sheriff then proceeds to give his psycho speech.
What is cable television's longest running programming event?
Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
Shark Week, loser.
The sheriff then cuts Nick to make sure the sharks are blood drunk, during which he accidentally kicks over a gas canister. Nick pulls out a lighter while the sheriff continues with his psycho speech. They do a lot of speeches in this movie. He uses his opportunity to throw the lighter, and with the help of the spilled gas, sets the sheriff alight, forcing him into the water to be eaten alive. He then takes a step out of Aquaman's book and swims to the boat holding Sara. Dennis throws chum on her, but before he can drop her, Nick grabs Red, stopping him. Dude, this guy has the best punctuality I've ever seen. He holds Red as leverage, but Dennis doesn't care and tosses a knife into Red, leaving him for the sharks. Nick gives him a solid slap, sending him overboard, and while pulling Sara out of the water, Dennis cuts the cage, sending them into the depths of the lake. Nick, apparently made of shark repellent, dives down with a harpoon, and him and Sara finally share a kiss. I mean, it's to exchange oxygen, but it still counts, right? I wonder if he had time to brush his teeth during all the shark attacks. Dennis comes swimming in, but Sara grabs him by the hair, holding him in place for the great white to chow down. Sherman, who was thrown overboard earlier, comes in clutch to give Nick the harpoon. Nick stabs the great white, killing it, and for some reason, I don't think it would be that easy to pierce the skin of the shark. But ignoring that, him and Sherman bring her to safety, and Nick gives her mouth to mouth before kissing her for real. Nothing like a good old trauma bond. And that's the movie. Nick will continue to save many lives, hopefully unrelated to shark attacks, when he's a qualified doctor. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please like, comment and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and for me to reach my goals. My review. I really enjoyed the movie. It is very funny with awesome character development, a great storyline, and multiple species of shark. I also felt that the movie very accurately captured lives of college students. It made me feel quite excited and like I have my whole life ahead of me, which is quite rare for a movie to capture. The movie is by no means perfect. I think the sharks could have been done better, and that the story had some inconsistencies, like Nick outswimming the shark. For these reasons, I give the movie 5 Rotten Damians out of 10. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.